This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. A link to the book will be placed in the description below. Alright, y'all. So, do this video on 6 meters. Reason I'm doing this video on 6 meters is simple. I want to demonstrate how to use it, what it is. Just about every HF rig now comes with 6 meters built in. This is a Yaesu FT450D. I bought secondhand and works like a charm. 6 meters actually opened up for me today. Down here in South Mississippi, we, being me and a group of other guys, have started a net on 50.135. We're 10 kilocycles off the calling frequency, and I chose that frequency for a reason. I'm sitting on the calling frequency now, and this is just to demonstrate. Reason I'm sitting on the calling frequency right now is because if that S meter pops up with some noise, I might get lucky and get another band opening. I am a relatively new operator to 6 meters. I haven't done a whole lot of it. I've worked a lot of 432 sideband. I like it. I like 2 because when it's open, you can work a lot. And by the way, if y'all are curious about why my radio is sitting like this, that right there is a Baofeng radio that I have sitting under it. That's the only good use I've found for a Baofeng radio, is a prop to angle my radio up. I had to throw that out there. Anyway, as I was saying, 6 meters, I don't have a whole lot of experience with. But I do have quite a bit with other VHF modes and bands. One of my favorite, like I said, is 2, but I don't have anything set up for 2. I'm in an apartment situation here, so I'm kind of limited on what I can do. Now, if y'all want to join us, our nets are Tuesday and Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Central Time on 50.135. We encourage everybody to join tonight. Usually it's just a bunch of us that are local, and a bunch of the guys that are in the group are 6 meter newbies. And this is kind of why I'm making this video. The 6 meter newbies don't understand how to do an exchange. You know, it's not like you work in DX and 5.9 thank you. The custom with VHF is you're going to give your grid square. You can find your grid square if you're a US ham simply by going to QRZ and looking it up. Go to QRZ, click on detail, and it will give you your grid square, or you could do that with any other station that you work, and you can find their grid square. Now, the only thing you're worried about as far as grid square goes is the 2-letter and the 2 numbers. Grid squares can actually go on just about infinitely, and it will tell you down to the space this small that you're sitting in. That's main head grid squares. Really all you're worried about is Echo Mike 50, which is what mine is. You're not worried about Echo Mike 50 AA, AB, AC, or ACBA or whatever. You're not worried about all that. When it comes to VHF, you're worried about Echo Mike 50. That is going to tell you where you're at within 1 degree longitude and 2 degrees latitude. So if you're in Miami, Florida, you're going to be like EL 95. You know, just to throw that out there. Again, you can obtain this from the FCC website. I mean, from the QRZ website. Okay, let's talk about the calling frequency for a minute. If I was to get on right now, and I was to CQ6, this is W5BLX, Echo Mike 50. I did not key up, as you could tell. But let's just say for the moment I was actually calling CQ. What's going to happen is, let's say I make contact with somebody. Hey, let's move up to 130. Get off the calling frequency. Move up to 130. Whiskey 5 Bravo Lima X-Ray, who's the station calling me? That's the courtesy. You don't want to just sit here on the calling frequency and work a bunch of stations. That's not proper use of a calling frequency. The calling frequency is you call, you make contact, you move. The reason that you move is somebody else may be trying to call. This is where everybody's listening. Now, if I make contact with somebody and somebody else hears me make contact with that person and they want to make contact, now they know because they've heard me say go up to 30. Now we're there. We continue our conversation here. That's how you use calling frequencies. Unlike, let's just say if I was on 20 meters at 14.183 and I'm calling CQ, I can stay on that frequency forever. Now, let's just say I decided to go off frequency from the calling frequency. Let's say I decided to go to 50.130. CQ, this is W5BLX calling CQ6. I get somebody calling me. Now, there's actually a benefit to this now. Most modern radios, not this one, but most modern radios have something called a pan adapter or a spectrum analyzer where they could see 100, 200, 500, maybe megabyte or a megacycle of the band all on the screen, and they could see by the waterfall if somebody is talking. They go back to you, you make contact. I think this was the case tonight. Reason I say that is because tonight, which was Wednesday night, we started the net about 8 o'clock East, or about 8 o'clock Central. It was me and about 4 or 5 other people that were on the net. And we're all local. We're all within, most of us are within 10 miles away. We got one guy that's about 25 miles away that checked in. Then all of a sudden, I hear this weak station. And I'm the primary net control. The other net control was my buddy Steve, W5SPH. He's about 10 miles from me. He's got a better antenna than me too. So he picks up, and turns out it's some guy way off in New York. Now these guys that are on this net have never worked outside of the area on 6 meters before. So what happened? We all got excited. Now we just started this thing. We haven't been doing this net for very long. A couple of weeks. We excited. Oh, we having fun now. All right. So we start working these guys. We all worked a guy in New York. Then a guy in Virginia came in. Then another guy in Virginia. Then a guy in Maryland. Then a guy in North Carolina. I mean, we were just fish in a barrel tonight. It opened up on us, and we weren't even prepared for it, but we were happy. And then all of a sudden, just as sudden as it opened, it closed. That's why 6 meters is the magic band. You might be talking locally with somebody, making some noise, and then you get some of these distant stations that come in, and they work you, and whoo, yeah. Now, my antenna is an off-center fed dipole, and it goes from 6 to 80. And it's actually a pretty good dipole. I found it off of eBay. Paid I think like $75 for it. It works great. But it's not up that high. It's just not high enough to work. Not the way I like. So I am probably over the next coming weeks going to build me a better 6 meter antenna. Something that I can get away with here in an apartment setting. And I'll do a video on that. Now, y'all keep in mind a few things. Number one, you're not going to work 6 every day. You'll work 6 locally every day, just like you'll work 2 meters every day. But when it opens, you got to be listening. Even more so when it opens, you need to be transmitting. Now, I knew that the band was fixing to open before the guy in New York came in. Keep in mind, crappy antenna for 6, and the way I've got it configured. It's not the antenna's fault so much as it is the fault of the way I have it configured. But my noise floor went up to about an S3. That told me that something was fixing to happen. And then all of a sudden we started getting these stations in. And these guys were coming in. The guy in Virginia was almost 10 over on me. He was booming. He was louder than the local guys. It don't take much, y'all. If you got a dipole in the air, you can work 6 meters. If you got a beam or a loop, obviously you're better off. But you can work it with a dipole. Get on 6 meters, make some noise. And if y'all hear us on, come on, join us. We'll be glad to have you. Also, if you're in the area and you are interested, there was once a club that was founded by me and Bill Music, K5YG, about a decade ago, a little more than a decade ago, called the Mississippi Coast VHF Society. Well, it kind of fizzled out. We're back. And we're back with new blood, and we're back to make some noise on the bands. I encourage y'all to check us out at N5GHZ is our call sign. If you hear us on, we'd be glad to have you. Be glad to welcome you to any of our nets, and we'd love to work you. I would like to get our 6 meter net set up every night at 8 o'clock. The reason I chose that time is I don't want to interfere with the local nets. The 2 meter nets. 8 o'clock still early enough for those of us who still work to where we're not in bed asleep. And it's good enough for everybody who wants to work. You're able to work. I encourage everybody to try it. You never know what you're going to find. 6 meters is kind of like Forrest Gump said about the box of chocolates. Y'all have a good night. 73 W5BLX.